Mother, if only you had corrected me when I stole for the first time, I wouldn't be here today.
My son, please forgive me. I should listen to what people told me. You shouldn't have been here.
But it was too late. Sometimes, the greatest mistake a parent can make is not failing to love a child, but failing to discipline one. Let's go back 20 years. 20 years earlier, in a quiet neighborhood lived a happy family, a hard-working father, a caring but overprotective mother, and their only son, 6-year-old Daniel. Daniel was cheerful, playful, and full of energy. His parents loved him deeply. The father believed children should be raised with love and discipline. The mother believed love alone was enough. She couldn't bear to see her son cry. Whenever he made a mistake, she always defended him. She would smile and say, "Mother, he's still a child. He'll grow out of it." Her husband often looked worried whenever she said those words. One quiet morning, while his mother was busy with household chores, little Daniel quietly walked into his parents' bedroom. He looked around carefully to make sure no one was watching. His eyes landed on his mother's handbag resting on the dressing table. Slowly, he opened it. Inside were a few Nigerian Naira notes. Without hesitation, Daniel picked up some of the money and quickly slipped it into his pocket. He smiled innocently, believing no one had seen him. But someone had. Standing quietly at the bedroom door was his mother, Amina. She had watched everything. She knew exactly what her son had done. Yet instead of correcting him or asking him to return the money, she simply smiled and walked away. That single decision would change the course of Daniel's life forever. Later that evening, Musa sat in the sitting room counting his money. Suddenly he frowned. Some of the money was missing. He calmly called Daniel and asked if he knew anything about it. Daniel lowered his eyes and denied taking it. Before Musa could say another word, Amina interrupted. "He's just a small boy," she said with a smile. "He doesn't even know what he's doing." Musa looked at his wife with concern. "A child who is not corrected today may become a problem tomorrow," he said quietly. But Amina refused to listen. She believed her son would change on his own. A few months later, Daniel started primary school. At first, everything seemed normal. Then one day, while the other children were busy with their lessons, Daniel quietly opened another pupil's school bag. He secretly took a pencil and hid it inside his own bag. When the lesson ended, the owner of the pencil began searching everywhere. The classroom became noisy. The teacher searched every school bag. Finally, the missing pencil was found inside Daniel's bag. The classroom fell silent. The teacher called Daniel forward and gently questioned him. Daniel stood quietly with his head lowered. The school immediately invited his mother. Instead of listening to the teacher's explanation, Amina became furious. She pointed her finger at the teacher and shouted, "Why are you accusing my son? He's only a child." The teacher tried to explain that this was not the first complaint against Daniel, but Amina refused to listen. She marched straight into the headmaster's office. Even the headmaster calmly advised her, "Madam, your son needs guidance while he is still young." But Amina became even angrier. She accused the school of picking on her son and stormed out with Daniel beside her. Daniel smiled quietly. In his young mind, he had learned something dangerous. No matter what I do, my mother will always defend me. One quiet afternoon, Daniel quietly entered his parents' bedroom. He looked around to make sure nobody was there. Slowly, he stretched his hand into his father's pocket. His little fingers pulled out several Naira notes. His heart raced for a moment. Then he smiled. He folded the money and quickly hid it inside his shorts before quietly walking out of the room as if nothing had happened. A few minutes later, Musa returned. He reached into his pocket to collect the remaining money. His face suddenly changed. The money was missing. He searched the bedroom again. He checked under the bed, inside the wardrobe, and even around the table. Nothing. He slowly looked toward Daniel, who was pretending to play outside. Musa became suspicious. He called him gently. "Daniel, did you take the money from my pocket?" Daniel immediately shook his head. "No, Baba." Before Musa could ask another question, Amina interrupted. "Why are you accusing your own son? He is just a child. If your money is missing, look for it properly." Musa looked at his wife in disappointment. He knew something was wrong. But he chose to remain silent. Word about Daniel's behavior continued spreading through the neighborhood. One evening, 3 respected neighbors came to visit the family. One elderly woman spoke gently. "Amina, please don't misunderstand us. We came because we care about your family." Another man added, "Your son is becoming known for taking things that do not belong to him. If you correct him now, he can still become a responsible man." Instead of appreciating their concern, Amina became furious. She angrily said, "Enough! All of you should leave my house. My son is not a criminal. You people are jealous of him. I don't ever want to see anyone come here to accuse my child again." The visitors looked at each other in disappointment. Without saying another word, they quietly left. Musa heard everything. He lowered his head and sighed deeply. He couldn't believe his wife had chased away people who had only come to help. As the visitors disappeared down the road, Daniel watched everything from the doorway. A slow smile spread across his face. Once again, he had escaped without any consequences, and deep inside his heart, he became even more convinced that he could do anything and his mother would always protect him. A few days after taking money from his father's pocket, Daniel returned to school as if nothing had happened. He walked into the classroom carrying his blue school bag and quietly took his seat. As the lesson was about to begin, one of his classmates opened his school bag and suddenly cried out, "Teacher, my money is missing." The teacher immediately stopped the lesson. He asked the pupil when he had last seen the money. "I kept it inside my school bag before the first lesson, sir." Daniel was sitting next to the boy, so the teacher started searching. Daniel tried to remain calm, but his heart was beating fast. He found the missing money. "After all the warnings we've given you, you are still stealing?" Daniel lowered his head, but said nothing. The teacher shook his head sadly. The years passed quickly. It was now 2002. The little boy who once stole pencils and lunch money had grown into a teenager. Daniel was now taller, stronger, and more confident. But instead of changing for the better, his stealing had grown to another level. He no longer targeted only his classmates. Now he searched for victims on the busy streets. Crowded markets, bus stops, and busy roads became his hunting ground. One afternoon, he noticed a well-dressed man talking on his mobile phone while walking through a crowded market. Daniel quietly followed him. When the opportunity came, he moved swiftly. With one quick movement, he snatched the phone from the man's pocket and disappeared into the crowd before anyone noticed. A few seconds later, the man reached for his phone. His face turned pale. "My phone! My phone!" He searched every pocket. The phone was gone. Back at school, Daniel's behavior became worse. The complaints against him increased. Teachers had exhausted every effort to correct him. The principal called him in several times. His classmates were afraid to leave their bags unattended. Parents also began complaining to the school. After several warnings and repeated cases of theft, the school management reached a difficult decision. Daniel was expelled from the school. His education came to an end. It wasn't long before he met a group of young men known for theft, violence, and other criminal activities. They welcomed him warmly. They admired his boldness. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt like he had found where he truly belonged, without realizing it. As Daniel grew older, his stealing became worse. He no longer stole inside the house or at school. He now roamed crowded markets, secretly pickpocketing innocent people before disappearing into the crowd. Soon, his face was everywhere. The police declared him wanted, showing his photograph to people across the city. Despite being hunted, Daniel refused to stop. One day he met a notorious armed robbery gang. Their leader welcomed him, handed him a large bundle of cash, weapons, and a detailed map of a wealthy man's mansion. "If this operation succeeds," the gang leader said, "there will be much more money than this." That night, dressed in black with masks covering their faces, the gang surrounded the rich man's mansion. They pointed their guns at him and prepared to carry out the robbery. But before they could make their move, police officers suddenly surrounded the entire area. "It's the police! Run!" someone shouted. The gang rushed into their getaway vehicle and sped off in panic. The driver lost control while trying to escape, and the car crashed violently into the roadside barrier. Some gang members escaped into the darkness, abandoning Daniel behind. Within moments, the police surrounded the wrecked vehicle, pulled Daniel out, handcuffed him, and arrested him. A few weeks later, Daniel stood before the court. His head was bowed in shame as his mother wept uncontrollably and his father watched with a broken heart. The judge looked at Daniel and delivered the final verdict. "For your crimes, this court hereby sentences you to life imprisonment." The courtroom fell silent. Daniel broke down in tears, filled with regret. As prison officers led him away, his mother ran after him, crying bitterly. "This is all my fault. I should have corrected you when you were a child," she sobbed. His father held her tightly, trying to comfort her, though tears filled his own eyes. Daniel looked back one last time at his parents, realizing that his choices had destroyed not only his own life, but also the hearts of those who loved him most. As the prison gates closed behind him, Daniel wept in deep regret, but by then, it was too late. His mother returned home with a broken heart. She sat quietly, holding old family photographs, remembering the innocent little boy Daniel once was. His father sat in silence, staring at the newspaper carrying the heartbreaking story of his own son. The house that was once filled with laughter had become a place of sorrow and regret. One mistake ignored can become a lifetime of regret. Parents, never ignore bad behavior because your child is still young. Correct them with love, discipline, and guidance before small mistakes grow into life-changing consequences. And to every young person watching, no amount of easy money is worth losing your future, your family, and your freedom. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this message today. You might help save a life before it's too late. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.